Welcome to this special episode of the FWP's Battle of the Bipolar Express. In today's episode, Part 2, the completion of the FWP Tag Team Trash Talking World Championship title belts. Enjoy. Okay, so as we pick it up here, I'm trying to remove the epoxy from the mold, and unfortunately it's just not cooperating. So I didn't really know what I'm doing, and what happened was when I tested the tray that I used as the mold, I tested a small spot, but when there's a larger bunch of epoxy, it generates a lot of heat. And so I guess the larger amount of heat of the large pour actually melted the cheap dollar store tray. So now I'm using heat again to separate the plastic from the epoxy. And then it just time consuming and frustrating, and I cut myself with it. Oh, what a nightmare. So anyways, luckily it was like 40 degrees outside, so I took it outside and put it in the sun, and that heated things up real good, and that made the work a little bit easier. I could switch back and forth from the different pieces, and eventually I got everything off of the backs and to an acceptable level. To get it any better, I would have to go ahead and sand and polish the back. But for me and what I'm doing here, my first attempt, this is good enough, and it looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. And it's just a matter of spending the time, and you can see the backs look pretty cool too. And there you have it. Excellent! What I found when I've been pouring the molds is the edges of the epoxy can be quite sharp, and I actually did cut myself on it. So I was just sanding it out there. And now I'm moving into the side plates. It took me a while to decide what to do, and I just decided to use the same guitar shape for our nameplates. And then I would draw out and turn that into a template so I could repeat it. And then for the Bipolar Express, I drew the shape of a locomotive. And again, I cut that out through a template so I can create two of them that are identical. Then I'm going to use those paper templates to cut out the same shape using the tray that I did the original mold in, because I have a few of those lying around and it makes a good base shape. And so I'm just going to trace out the shapes and then cut them out of the trays, and that will give me a good solid shape to put in the middle. Just a lot of busy work here, so how about we play the entire song, the tag title Blues, lyrics written by me, music made by AI Music Factory.
This is a story about the FWP world. Tag team trash talking championship title belts. When things get difficult, are you gonna stand up and fight, or are you gonna cower at the sight? The really good things in life contain blood, sweat, and tears. You never really know who you are until you face your fears. It might even be art that challenges you. So this is how we learn, this is how we grow. And that's the story of the FWP World Tag Team Trash Talking Championship title belts. Challenge plus determination create character. That's what makes a true championship title belts. challenge plus determination create character. That's what makes a true champion.
What happened there was I had decided to do a laminate side plate, and then I decided that wasn't good enough, so I would do another epoxy pour. And the train shape that I had originally made was a little bit too big for the container I got for the epoxy bore, so I had to redo it. Incidentally, the back of the train on the new shape was from the prototype drawing that I drew. So now I'm trying to stick the Mylar with epoxy because the glue stick that I originally used is not compatible with epoxy, and unfortunately the Mylar isn't compatible with the epoxy either. And all this did was create a good foundation of epoxy resin on my shapes that I then sanded down, and yeah, see, they just didn't stick at all. So I had to sand them down to make them a little bit ready for the epoxy pour that I'm going to do over top of them. And then I'm just going to copy the edge of it so that the shape sticks out a little bit more. And I've already done that for the other three shapes, so I can move right to the pour after this one here. And as you see, there's the train. Now I'm cutting all out the letters that I'm going to need for the side plates to spell the Trevinator and the Dominator and Bipolar Express twice. And then I can lay them out. You see I've got them on the stencils to see what it's going to look like. And now I'm just using a ruler to get them nice and straight and centered, which wasn't quite perfect. And there was a couple of letters I had a problem with because, again, the epoxy on the back of the glue on the back of the letters is not compatible with the epoxy. So when you do the epoxy pour, sometimes it will peel off those other adhesives that aren't compatible. This worked out pretty good. Most of the letters stuck. It was only a couple that curled up a little bit. If you look, they look pretty good. So now I'm going into the main pour here, and what I did, I had to do 4 of them, and I've never poured 4 things the same ever before. So I mixed 4 separate containers, but you could have just mixed 1 container and then separated them into 4. And luckily I learned a little bit about release agents, so I did a little bit of research on what was going to work as a good mold, and used a little bit of spray adhesive that was silicone spray that I sprayed onto it. And now I've got a first layer in there, and I'm sanding that off so that it holds the second layer and the shapes. And here we go, we're pouring a second layer. Unfortunately, the guitar shapes didn't sit flat. I guess because they had been used before, the heat had curved them up a little bit. So now I had to push them down using broken glass again. And that's just, I don't know, I guess I like using broken glass. And when I put the glitter on, it worked out fine, but then I actually spilt some on one of the Bipolar Express shapes. So then what I did is I did a second Bipolar Express lettering over top. This creates a little bit of space between the 2 Bipolar Expresses and creates a little bit of a shadow effect inside the epoxy. And now that's my final pour, and it's just a matter of waiting, and I wait a little bit until the epoxy has hardened a little, but it's still a little bit tacky. It takes about 4.5 hours or so to get to this point. And now I'm just simply laying the rhinestone chain that I got from the Dollarama along the edge, and I'm just using the stick to push down each individual little piece and stick it into the sticky epoxy pour, and that will hold it in place. And here comes the last one. You can really see what I'm doing here. And that's how I do the outside edge of the epoxy pours. There you go. And now, because I used the silicone lubricant and an aluminum tray, the epoxy should just come out. Didn't come out real easy, but it came off fairly easy. And the nice thing is that the back was nice and clear. Although I still have to work on getting the air bubbles out from behind the things that I put in the middle of the epoxy. Yeah, but it actually worked out really well, and the molds popped out this time. There's no pissing around, no scraping, no heat needed. Some air bubbles, but that's something I need to work on. Epoxy resin is not just easy. It takes some time and patience to learn. But man, these turned out really good, especially from the front. They're very clear, and that's just my experience. And once again, the edges come out really sharp. So I'm just using a file here to kind of round them down so that they can be handled without cutting anybody. And those are the 4 side panels, and that is all that's needed to complete the belt itself. I just need a way to attach the side panels to the belt straps themselves. Just filing. A lot of busy work like this goes into it. And if you're still watching at this point, hey, thanks for watching. This is, I know, not the most interesting stuff unless you're interested in doing some epoxy pours. And then, there's people that are experts out there that can show you better than me. My talent is my creativity to create something completely original, like broken glass guitar trash talking tag team championship title belts. And there they are.
Well, there you have it. The building of the FWP World Tag Team Trash Talking Championship title belts. The FWP art department went all out on this one, and man, they are gorgeous. Didn't exactly live up to their expectations or meet the timetable, but hey, there they are. Now, if we only had a tag team to give them to. But that's another story. Tune in next time for Whatever Happened to the Bipolar Express.